This is Tom Biernacki, and today you are in luck because Metatarsalgia Ultimate Home Diagnosis Guide, your ball of the foot pain, it is disappearing. So we're going to take great care of your pain because look at what you got down here. You got Morton's neuromas, you got plantar plates, you got ligaments, you got tendons. Look at this stuff. All this stuff is coming apart on me right here. Oh man. That's an anatomy lesson right there. You could spend a whole medical school semester, and we did, learning about the muscles and the anatomy there. So skip med school. Come straight to the Michigan Foot Doctor's Guide for Metatarsalgia. We're here. We're taking great care of your foot. So how does metatarsalgia develop? You got a lot of stuff going on down here. In the ball of your foot, this is how it develops. It develops slowly, and it usually develops in people who are in high activity, on their feet all day long. This is school, this is factory labor work, this is walking around putting a ton of pressure. So you can see if this is the ground, you're putting a ton of pressure on the front of your foot. So what usually happens is a tighter Achilles tendon, it can't bend up as much. So the front of your foot is jamming more as you put more weight on. So as an example, a 120-pound programmer probably won't have metatarsalgia, whereas a 300-pound man working on the factory line, standing 12 hours a day, very high chance of metatarsalgia. And most people are in between. Realistically, the most common patient that gets this is someone in their 30s, 40s, 50s, as they start getting more stiff through their hamstrings, their calf muscles, they're walking more. They gained 5, 10 pounds, a little bit more. That's what's causing your pain. Just those little increasing increments start to put more pressure on the front of your pain. And as I showed you in that anatomy lesson, your big toe joint, your metatarsals here, the nerves, the tendons, they just get beat up, they get bruised. So let's start taking care of this pain. So if you can see right here, this is the ball of my foot. Metatarsalgia, you have your tendons, your ligaments, a lot of stuff going on right here. I'm going to grab my foot model that fell apart. You got nerves, tendons, ligaments, a lot of muscles in between, a lot of stuff. So in metatarsalgia, you have stress fractures to your metatarsals, capsulitis, tendinitis, you can get Morton's neuroma, all that kind of stuff. And it's just because you get too much pressure. You can see right here, as I walk, I'm putting extra pressure right there. That's metatarsalgia. When I put more pressure into the ball of my foot, the front's going to hurt more. It's like somebody's punching you 10,000 times a day. So now let's talk about some treatment. What treatment comes down to is essentially your foot is like a piece of skin that's getting punched right here. So 10,000 steps a day are getting punched, punched, punched. The more turned down your foot is, it's getting punched. We went over the anatomy. Those ligaments, those tendons, those nerves are getting beat up. Sometimes stuff hurts more than the other. So this punch, there's nothing easier for us to do as doctors than to give a pill, than to give an injection, and that pain goes away immediately. And this punch doesn't hurt. You keep getting punched right here. But what happens is, personally, I want to get rid of the fist. So this is the least immediate results. And sometimes when you get people to switch shoes, lose weight, get an orthotic, they're not as happy with getting rid of the fist because you don't get those immediate results. That's why I'm pleading with you guys. Pleading. This is how you solve your problem. This is really the key. So there are injections, there are creams, those types of things to exist. If you broke your ankle and I put a cream or injection in there, is that a great idea? We want to stop you from actually walking on it and getting punched the whole time so that your broken ankle can heal. It's the same thing with the ligaments and tendons at the ball of your foot. Save them, let them heal. So get rid of that fist. That's what we're going to talk about in our treatments right now. What types of shoes should you get? So we've already established, boom, 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 you're putting weight on the front of your foot. So we're getting you into a great shoe. This is what a great shoe looks like right here. And you want 3 components. This is a Saucony brand, but there's lots of brands. But this is an A+ shoe. There's a lot of B+, C+, things like Nike, things like Under Armour. Realistically, they go towards the younger crowd that wants more fashion. Their emphasis is not really offloading foot supports. So those fancy, good-looking brands are not the number one choice, even though I'd say this looks just as good, if not better. But here's what you want in a great shoe. You want a back that does not collapse. So see what I'm doing right there? Flimsy shoes, like if I took some shoes that people wear, you can flap that all around. So see that right there? I'm pushing as hard as I can. It's not collapsing in the back. Number two is when I bend it, it only bends at the toe. Look at how little absorbs there. That means your foot gets absorbed, the pressure gets absorbed right through the arch right here. Less goes into the ball of the foot. This is studied over and over and over. If you have a lot of rigidity to your shoe and stiffness to the back, this absorbs a lot of pressure and redistributes it equally throughout your foot. Your problem is, yes, maybe you're overweight, maybe you can't flex, but with a stiff shoe that redistributes your pressure, you get as close to an A+ redistribution throughout your foot rather than putting everything in the ball of your foot, which like a pair of flats or a pair of flip-flops would do for you. So number one is get a good shoe. Stiff heel, stiff sole, Asics, Saucony, Hoka, Brooks, New Balance. I love those 5 brands. Maybe I'm missing some, but you can't go wrong with those 5. Number 2, we talked about our shoe. So we got our great shoe. Now we want to get an insert. So with this insert, see how there's a lump built in? Is this the best insert in the world? No. Realistically, this is a pretty cost-effective insert, but you can see, you got to stand in the light here, but there's a huge indentation in the ball of the foot. This is me because I have metatarsalgia. So I have an insert with a lump here. It redistributes pressure through the heel. I'm not going to peel this layer off, but see this pad right here? Theoretically, if the pressure is right here, you could take this pad, see what I'm doing right there, and put it like a cliff right before there, so it takes pressure off there. So see this lump right here? You could put it up here as well, so that it's taking pressure off this area. But now you're dealing and sweating in this thing. You want a uniform surface that doesn't bother you. So I stick it underneath. Here's your Achilles tendon right there. When this thing's tight, your foot gets pushed down more into the ball of the foot area. That you got to stretch out your Achilles tendon. So I'm going to go over that right now. So you guys can see I've got my fashionable scrub top and my blue shorts. I hope no patients notice. So take a look here. I have metatarsalgia in my left foot. My hamstring's a lot tighter. I can already feel it as I'm stretching right here. Look at my left foot. It's got that amount of flexibility. My right foot has that much flexibility. You can see it right there. I've got a lot more flexibility, probably about 10 degrees between the two. So you can see this one has less flexibility than this one. As I push up, like sure I can cheat by trying to adjust with my muscle here, but I feel it through my left foot. So as a result, I have a whole lot more pain on the ball of my foot. The ball of my foot right here impacts more in the middle. My hamstring right here and my calf muscle are both tight. As a result, when I walk and I stretch right here, I'm getting a lot more pressure here because I impact down here and it doesn't really stretch up quite as much. So here's what we know about stretching, and I'm going to come down into the frame here, is stretching 15 to 30 seconds at a time, 3 times in the morning, really does increase your flexibility here and here. Statistically, you got to do a lot of stretching. There's not a lot of true evidence, but what I see in patients on average is people hardly keep up with their stretching by themselves. But it takes about 30 seconds times 3, you get 90 seconds at that point to get some flexibility. If you can maintain those numbers 7 days a week, you should be able to get 5 to 10 degrees of increased flexibility. So this is, we're at 90 degrees. Ooh, 90 degrees right there. So see a perfect square. And they're able to get 10 degrees more. So roughly that much more flexibility. That's a lot of stretching for very little results. Do you guys see this right here? This is stretching me by myself. So that right there is holding my big toe and my thigh up. So you can see the angle here is bent a decent amount. So what that means is you're getting a decent amount of stretch and it's holding me. I feel it in my thigh and I feel it in my calf muscle. So wearing this, it's been shown if you wear it about 30 minutes, about 5 days a week, you get about 10 degrees of increased motion in the front of your foot, your calf, your thigh. That's better for running, that's better for your metatarsalgia, but that's how much stretching it takes to get your flexibility back. It took you decades for your flexibility to go away, so get it fixed with this. Nice. Right here, this guy is unfortunately about $400, believe it or not, because it's a test model. But see this? I put a little wedge in the big toe area to lift up the big toe, because as your big toes lifted up, it prevents your foot from twisting out. So what kind of exercises can you do while you have metatarsalgia? The single worst. So as a podiatrist, you'd think we'd want you walking a lot, but it is the worst exercise for when you have foot pain. So how are you going to solve your foot pain? By taking tens of thousands of repeated steps onto hard concrete. Yes, it's nice that you can burn 200 calories walking in 1 hour. But how good is that really? That is not a ton of calories being lost. If you've ever heard of HIIT training, HIIT, this is basically riding your bike, for example, 30 seconds hard, 30 seconds light, 30 seconds hard. Just doing that, I don't know the exact number, but it's something like 8 minutes of doing that is worth more than 1 hour. So stop slamming this into the ground, bruising and destroying your metatarsal region, and just ride a bike for 8 minutes. Do those types of exercises, swimming, weightlifting, burn a ton of calories, lose a ton of weight while still surviving and healing your foot pain. So don't use this as an excuse to not lose weight. So number 4, time off your feet. This is where we can make a big difference immediately. So if you work as like a cash out person at a supermarket, maybe get a rubber mat that can redistribute your pressure quite a bit. If you work at an office, try and sit down as much as possible. And lastly, this is the one people don't want to hear. This is the one they don't want to hear, but they already know. You're getting older, you're putting on more weight. This isn't everybody. Some people get in much better shape, but as you get older and as you put on more weight, you're going to put more pressure on your foot. No matter how much you adjust your shoe, your orthotic, how stretchy you get, if you keep putting on 100 pounds, 50 pounds, 30 pounds even. What this means, this is a crazy statistic, but it's a true statistic. 1 pound of body weight puts 3 pounds of weight on your foot. Try going on a treadmill and holding like a 25-pound weight in front of you. It's going to obliterate your foot. It feels so much sore almost instantly. Drop 10 pounds. That's 30 pounds less on your feet. So it's a 1 to 3 ratio. 3 times goes onto your feet. So drop that weight. This is Tom Biernacki, and it was my pleasure to talk to you about metatarsalgia. If you want to see long videos like this, give it a thumbs up. Give it a like. I want to keep helping you get better. Hey, guess what? We have a phenomenal book. I believe this is the premier book on chronic nerve pain and peripheral neuropathy pain on the planet. I've put years of work seeing tens of thousands of peripheral neuropathy patients, working with some of the best diabetic endocrinologists, the best doctors, the best neurologists in building out this book. For you, my viewers, we have a discount code available. Get on our mailing list and get that book down here.